All right, today we're talking about a technology that is so powerful it honestly sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. It's a tool that lets us find and change the most basic instructions for life itself, literally rewriting the DNA that makes you, well, you. Let's jump in.
Just pause and really think about that question. Not just treating diseases, but going right into the source code of life and fixing the bugs. And no, this isn't some hypothetical from a film. This is the very real, unprecedented power of a technology called CRISPR.
And this really gets to the core of it all, doesn't it? CRISPR is a massive double-edged sword. On one side, you have a medical miracle, something that could potentially wipe out some of the worst diseases known to humanity. But on the flip side, it's a huge ethical challenge that makes us ask some really tough questions, like how far are we willing to go in redesigning life?
Okay, so what is this revolutionary tool exactly? And where did it even come from? Well, you might be surprised to find out that this cutting-edge, futuristic tech actually comes from a very, very ancient war.
Yep, you heard that right. CRISPR is basically a tiny immune system for bacteria. For billions of years, they've been using it as a kind of most wanted list to remember viruses that have attacked them before. When the virus shows up again, CRISPR recognizes it and just shreds its DNA. We didn't invent it, we just found it.
The huge aha moment came in 2012. That's what scientists Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuel Charpentier figured out how to take this natural bacterial defense and turn it into a programmable tool that could edit pretty much any DNA in any organism. It was so game-changing that just 8 years later, in 2020, boom, they won the Nobel Prize.
So how's it work? The molecular scissors analogy is honestly perfect. First, you have a little piece of guide RNA that acts like a biological GPS, taking the tool to the exact spot you want to edit. Then an enzyme called Cas9, that's the scissors part, comes in and snip. It makes a clean cut. And here's the best part. The cell's own repair crew rushes in to fix the break, and that's our chance to guide the repair, letting us delete, replace, or even add a new bit of code. It's just so elegant.
And with that kind of precision, you can probably imagine what this means for medicine. We're talking about a completely new era of healing. The sheer number of possibilities is just staggering. Think about all the diseases that come from one tiny typo in our genetic code. For so long, all we could do was manage the symptoms. But with CRISPR, we can go in and correct the typo at its source. We're talking about things like sickle cell anemia, cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy, even some kinds of blindness and cancers. It's just wow. And listen, this isn't science fiction anymore. This isn't some 10 years from now promise. It's happening right now. Just in 2023, we hit a massive milestone when the very first CRISPR therapy was officially approved to treat sickle cell disease. It's out of the lab and in the clinic. Real people are being treated with this technology today. But remember that double-edged sword? For all of the incredible promise we just talked about, there's a whole lot of peril. Now we have to walk through a really complicated and tricky ethical minefield. Now, to really get this debate, you have to understand a key difference. Editing somatic cells, that's most of the cells in your body, only affects one person. Think of it like fixing a typo in a single copy of a book. But editing germline cells, sperm, eggs, embryos, that is a whole different ballgame. That's like changing the master file at the printing press. Every single copy from then on for all future generations will have that change. You're not just editing a person, you're editing their entire family tree forever.
And if you think this is all just a philosophical debate, think again. Back in 2018, this whole thing exploded into reality. A scientist announced that he had actually done it. He had edited the DNA of human embryos that then became 2 baby girls. The goal was to make them resistant to HIV, but the global scientific community was outraged. It was seen as reckless and a huge warning sign that the science was moving way, way faster than the ethics.
Which brings us to the really slippery slope. Where do we draw the line? Curing a horrible disease feels like a no-brainer. But what about enhancement? What if you could use CRISPR to choose your child's intelligence, or their height, or make them a better athlete? This is the whole designer baby scenario, and it opens up this huge can of worms about creating a new kind of genetic inequality. And the risks here go way beyond human medicine. In farming, making crops that pests won't eat sounds amazing, right? But what does that do to the rest of the ecosystem? Or what about bringing back extinct species? I mean, how cool would that be? But if we use powerful tools called gene drives to force genetic changes through an entire wild population, well, you can't put that genie back in the bottle. The consequences could be completely unpredictable.
So when you put all of this together, it's pretty clear that humanity is standing at a major crossroads. We've got a tool in our hands that can heal us, but can also fundamentally alter the course of evolution. The responsibility is just massive.
This quote really just nails the shift we're living through. For our entire history, we've thought of our DNA as a fixed blueprint, something handed to us that we couldn't change. Well, that's not true anymore.
The bottom line is this. Evolution is no longer something that just happens to us. With CRISPR, we are now holding the pen. The choices we make right now, in the next few decades, are going to shape not just the future of our health, but the future of what our species itself becomes.
And so that leaves all of us with this final, huge question. As we get better at using this incredible power, what role are we going to play? Are we going to be careful editors, using our wisdom to fix life's most painful mistakes? Or are we going to become reckless authors, rewriting the story of life without fully understanding the consequences? The choice is ours.